In this interview, I'm talking to my good friend Wayne Smith about his Caluka project. Wayne wrote a blog on Caluka, which was to really extend what might be possible in the sheep industry. So we talk about that and about the challenges that he had, the difficult time that he had, the perfect storm that happened for him, and then also what he thinks the future is for sheep. And he talks about lime. It might shock you what he says about lime, but I think you'll find it really important to listen to. And then he talks about the future, where he might go from here. So enjoy my good friend Wayne Smith. Right, good to have you back again, Wayne.
Thank you, Bill.
Now, this is a different topic. We're going to now segue from crops, basically. We did touch on cattle, though, cattle whispering last time. Yeah. But this time we're going to talk more about your sheep experience at Caluka. What inspired you to do Caluka? I guess it was the cattle with your parents, was it?
Yeah, it pretty much started from that. So Dad and Mum got a little hobby farm down near Albany. It's 800 plus mil rainfall area called Marble Up and 10 hectares. And Mum wanted to grow cows, and I think we talked in the previous interview about I didn't know how to grow cows, but I knew how to grow pasture. And even though a lot of my consulting wasn't pastures, if you remember, 88, 89, 90, the wool market crash and people switched to cropping, which was coinciding with us and the no-till and everyone else going no-till. But I sort of knew how to grow pastures, and so you can't go broke on 10 hectares. So I started, let's see what we can do on 10 hectares, and we'd do rotational grazing, and all the locals said you could have about 8 cows on that 10 hectares, cow calves. Went that for a few months, is like the pastures just got booming past them, so we went and got 16. And then, that's like, well, the pasture's still growing too fast, and went and got more cows and more cows.
That wasn't all year round, though, was it?
Yeah.
Even in December?
December would sort of brown off. Yeah. But so you can't go broke on 10 hectares. So I wanted to see what's possible. Yeah. I hadn't had a chance because I was so busy consulting with cropping. And so as we went through the first year and into second year, it's like, started setting a goal for myself. I reckon we could go 40 cows producing 40 calves on 10 hectares, 24 acres, without feeding and without irrigation. So it was like way beyond what anyone was doing. But it's like, I can't go broke on 10 hectares. Let's see what can happen.
So you mean without feeding the NPK?
Yeah, without hay, without pellets, without grain. So just growing.
Yep.
Pasture.
Yep.
So it was Kikuyu based, but very, very acid and things. So of course, being an agronomist, I put on lots of lime, it's 10, 15 tonne a hectare instead of 1s and 2s. And I did very high rates of super copper zinc moly, agros copper zinc moly, fixing all that at potash where it was needed and stuff.
And did the lime move itself through the soil without tillage?
Without tillage, within 12 months, it was past 30 centimetres.
But that's not possible, Wayne.
Really?
Well, I mean, I've actually done the trials and shown that it is a bit possible, actually, out of Meckering. And I've published a paper with Ken Flower and Crabtree movement of lime through soil. But the standard view is it just doesn't move. Tell me a little, did you measure it down at 30 centimetres?
Yeah, I measured it down to a metre.
And see where it goes. And did the lime move down to a metre?
Not to a metre, no. It went down sort of 30, 40 centimetres in 12 months.
And that's with 800 mil rainfall?
Yeah, so that's the thing. So it's high rainfall, but once you fixed up the pH, earthworms went ballistic. Like it was just alive with earthworms. So I don't know if you remember, but decades ago, some radioactive work on how far does lime go down with earthworms, radioactive, and within 12 months they went 10 and 12 centimetres, stuff in South Australia.
So the worms are pulling the physical lime as well?
Physical.
Eating it, pooing it, moving it down, and roots growing. But the soil became alive once you fix the pH and high rainfall and wet most of the time. But one interesting thing that was enlightening, so I wasn't into genetics, I wasn't into animals pretty much, just Dad and Mum wanted cows, but I wanted to crash. So I pushed and pushed and pushed the pasture. Whatever I think the pasture needed to grow, I fed it 5 times a year sort of thing. But what happens when it doesn't rain and you're fully stocked with livestock, and you're still rotationally grazing, what's going to happen? If I don't want to feed them with hay, I would, but I was trying to push the system to see. And I learned something really, which is going to change my future life. That is, when you see the cows going around, you don't know what they're eating. They're just eating a bit of dry stuff, the odd bit of green stuff. You go to a paddock where there's a wet patch and they eat a bit of green and then they go on to the next. And I'm moving them every day or two. Like there's nothing much to eat.
And for probably 2 months there, all the cows were wobbly fat, as I would call it. They're walking and they're wobbly and that. And all of a sudden, within a few weeks, a third of them would just go to bone. They would just lose weight rapidly. And I thought, well, as a consultant, you wouldn't have let that happen. You would have already been advising to bring out the feed and look after the bottom. But if you did that, you never found out who were the bad genetics. Because even though it's really tough and you don't know what they're eating, there's a lot of them are staying wobbly fat. Like, they're eating the same condition. So that was very enlightening to me. So then I went into research with breeders and things and how people breed. And those who probably heard of Kit Farrow in America, farrowcattle.com, his philosophy was, I don't want to spend a cent. They have to be immune to everything, resistant to flies and stresses and all sorts of things. And the bulls have to do 50 to 100 cows instead of 20 to 30 cows. And while the bulls are working, they have to maintain or gain weight, not lose weight like you would expect. And there's amazing things you can do with genetics. Like, there are genetics that are resistant to everything, that stay fat on dead grass. And it's like, okay, so my goal of 40 cows, 40 calves, I think I can go higher than that. Like, if I had every cow with the best genetics, so maybe we can go even further. Life threw a wobbly and marriage was over and stuff, and I didn't get to find
answer that question.
I got to 39 cows because one cow didn't get pregnant, and the calves, so I got close to say, yeah, that's possible, but I didn't find the limit.
Well, it's interesting, when I was in Tanzania about 6 years ago, 2018, was with Peter Hack, and we met with some farmers and people that have got cows, and their cows are really skinny, really sad. And one thing I picked up from them, and this guy was a vet, I do talk to him on WhatsApp actually, and he says that when they bring nice big fat cows in here, they just can't handle the environment, and they just crash and end up dumbing down. So interesting.
Yeah, but they're missing something. You remember South Coast, before we were kids, the South Coast was called South Coastal Disease. Sheep would waste away and stuff. It turned out to be selenium and cobalt. In Kenya, Tanzania that I've been to, like, you never see a skinny zebra, so they're adapted to it. But you bring in a fat cow, Angus, put them in the same environment, they'll go to skin and bones.
Yep.
And it's cobalt, selenium, and copper.
And my dad found the same thing in 1947 at Pemberton. He had a dairy cow, and he lost 20 cows, I think my brother Jeff told me. They just died on him.
That'd be one of the first research ones, probably.
It was. He had, because he went to Duke College with Henry Schapper.
Oh, yeah.
Dad took me to see Henry. Anyway, before I went to uni, what should you do? He said, you get to UWA, go to UWA. There's sort of arrogance. Anyway, and Dad did Duke College, and trace elements was a big subject that he learnt about. So when this happened, he said to the ag department, look, it's trace elements. So he had a little role, I think, in that knowledge of trace elements that helped open up WA.
Yeah. So when you go to Kenya, it's, for those who don't know, it's volcanic soils. It's Garden of Eden. It's the closest place I've ever seen to Garden of Eden. It doesn't get too hot. It doesn't get frosted. What they call a drought, you and I would call a good time. It's good. There's trees and grass and everything growing, but it's starving for copper, sulfur, molybdenum, and for the livestock, cobalt and selenium, starving for it. All you can do is do that, and then you can grow very fat cattle and very productive. So it's not that it's the area, it's just that something's lacking, something's unknown. So it's one of my arguments for those with regenerative agriculture about don't add fertiliser. Well, we have actually soils, Kenya has soils, the nutrients aren't there. You've got to add them, you've got to fertilise, and then boom. And for a lot of African countries, it's very little that's needed. It's not like they need masses of phosphate and potash and that. It's sulphur, cheap. Cobalt, tiny bit. Selenium and molybdenum, so on. Copper's a big one for the livestock. A lot more than plants. They need more than plants do. So yeah, it's easy to fix. So anyway, that was going back to Dad and Mum and Marble Up, and then life fell apart for a while, and that's, as we talked in the previous interview, that's where learning plant language sort of came up when I went to America and learned about cows and stuff. But as time went on, and I was seeing as a consultant, getting clients out of trouble. And like we often get the clients that are really struggling. The banks say get a consultant or else you're out. And so you're starting with people that are always struggling with scarce resources, never have enough to do it well. But you'd have clients that have enough money to do whatever's needed, and they just go gangbusters. Like they get faster and faster profits and bigger profits. And then when a land comes up for sale, the big ones just grab it because they've got the money and they're doing it better and better. And it's hard for the small ones. So as time went on, it's like, there is so much potential with livestock in that if you did the sums, not what people are achieving, but what you could achieve. I'm always, people haven't realised, I'm always thinking about what's possible. I don't care what people are doing, it's just what's possible. And how do we get there? And so I would be thinking about that all the time. And then like people would grow a hay crop, they fertilise it. Well, why don't you do that over the whole farm? And it's like, well, I'd have too much pasture. It's like, hello, So, actually, it's a good story. My first paddock arrived in Kenya. They had these Holstein Friesians. And I said to the guys, like, wow, Holstein Friesians, yeah, that's the milk. We produce milk for the for all the staff. He had 400 staff. And I said to him, but you've just slashed it. Why did you slash it? And he says, it grows too much. Well, why don't you not fertilise it? He says, we don't fertilise it. This guy kill you. He says, they've got to slash it every 2 weeks. And so I say, well, why don't you put more cows on? Why would we do that? And I said, well, you've got all the grass growing, you're slashing it every 2 weeks, why not put more cows on?
And you don't have to slash it.
And you do, and then if you fertilise it, it's like, why would we do that? And I'd have to say the same thing again. In their mind, if I have too many cows, I get more cows stolen.
Yeah.
I can protect 50 cows. But if I had 2,000, I'm going to get stolen. And
in South Africa, they call sheep takeaways. Well, 20 years ago they did. I don't know what's happening now.
Yeah, don't do that, people.
Could be worse.
Yeah. So anyway, as time went on, I was seeing what was possible. And you would do mental sums that, if we had this rainfall and what we could do, we could do triple the amount we can do in cropping with money, with profit. And in the high rainfall where it's too wet to crop anyway and risky, and you could do really well. So that's where it started, and it was frustration. And I was over at Kangaroo Island consulting there. And farms were coming up for sale that were absolute bargains, and I was pleading with clients just to come and buy them. $800 an acre, for 600, 700 mil rainfall, and you could make so much money, so much profit if you just did it half well. And then some demo farms started, which was trying to get people to do what I would do, but I'm not there all the time monitoring, and they were very enlightening to everyone there. But it got frustration. The frustration is building up for me is like, I don't have the money. I want to go farming. What if all my subscribers, we all put in a bit of money and we buy farm and I'll run it. We do it really well. So that developed the idea of Caluka Farms, is to buy a wet area, too wet for cropping, show people what's possible. And the first farm I wrote up trying to get investors was on Kangaroo Island because it was cheap, really, really cheap, and high rainfall. But that was too big for everybody, and everybody said, no, start smaller. So we started smaller, and then I couldn't get enough money for that small farm, so we went even smaller again. So we started off with just 200 hectares and, 235 hectares in total, 185 arable. In the end, we got to averaging for 12 months 54 DSEs, so that's equivalent to 54 ewes or wethers a hectare. Still lots of improvement to go. And we were, out of that 185 hectares, on target to do 9,000 lambs off that. So very, very profitable. But then, of course...
Stress test.
Well, when you're trying to build up sheep, you don't sell. You're trying to keep all the girls, sell the boys. And then we went for a period of about 14 months where we couldn't get high-priced sheep, the wethers, into abattoirs. You couldn't get them in at all. And eventually we reached a point where I got a booking myself. Sorry.
That was politically...
coming up to
triggered?
that. No,
not yet.
Not yet. So coming up to this stage where I'm showing the farm and struggling with banks and trying to get enough money to do it really well, because we're always cash flow tight because we're trying to keep the girls to raise the numbers quickly to then become very profitable. We had 4 bookings, and 3 were by an agent, 1 was by me, finally, after about 14 months. And we were desperate for cash flow, of course. And then all 4 got cancelled on me. And so,
what? And then a farmer, didn't record his name, but God bless him, he rang me up to say, I've heard what's been happening to you. What do you mean? He says, I bet you're not getting into the abattoirs. I was a bit confused that this is not private. And he said, well, this is what happens, Wayne. You have a booking, but the agent cancels it and gives it to farmers like me, who have been around for much longer and bigger than you. So that was like really hard to take, and that was the first sign that things aren't quite honourable in the industry. And so then we started to, better sell some girls. We had 3 agents come along, and they drove past our best ewes that were pregnant and best, fastest growing lambs, and they're not for sale. Went down to the back paddocks where I had them ready, and the agents said, we'll pay you $400 for those ones, we'll pay you $300 for those ones. I thought, wow, okay, I don't need to sell many, we're going to be fine. Then the agents wanted to see the front paddock, which had all the best sheep. It was 800 and something in there. And the 3 agents walk in amongst, and they come back laughing and says, we'll give you $500 today a head for all of them. And I'm thinking, I'm going to regret this because no, they're our best rams with the best ewes and the best lambs. That's our future. No. And you've already bought $300 and $400 sets of ewe lambs. 2 days later, Mr. McGowan announces that they're going to ban live sheep export. Those orders were cancelled. So we'd gone pretty much 14 months without selling hardly anything, 1 truckload to Victoria from memory. And it's, what do we do now? And then the whole state was in, oh crap, I better sell. And then that just made it
flooded
worse.
the market.
And then the abattoirs cut the prices in half, and then they cut them down again. People like me couldn't get in, and we had no assets stored up because we were trying to accelerate. So it was like a perfect storm. By 2 days for us, we would have been still there today. Yeah. But it's okay to go but I've learnt that the industry needs a clean-up, and there is so much potential with livestock. Like, the demand overseas is still very high. We can produce a lot of livestock in Australia and cropping. If we just do it like we do with cropping, we just grow grass and clover as a crop, and the cows and cattle are the harvesters, but there's still that massive genetic jump. Do you know, Bill, a sheep is resistant to scrapie. That's a disease, a wasting disease, like a mad cow disease. It's a sheep version. If you have a sheep that's resistant to that, you're not allowed to bring it into Australia. Illogical, isn't it? Mm. You can bring a susceptible, but you can't bring a resistant. Mm. So here's our government's concern about the risk of scrapie bringing it in, but you can't bring in resistant genes so that you never get it. Even though the literature shows you can do things so guarantee there's no scrapie going to happen because you've got resistant genes and you can bring it in and it's clean and not contaminated. You can even inject scrapie into a ewe that's resistant. She won't transmit it to the lamb. So our government still won't let us. So one day I would like to change that for Australia. And in the meantime, you could bring in genetics that are resistant to worms. There are sheep completely resistant to worms. No more drenching needed, no vaccinations needed, which is a dirty word these days anyway, coming out. So you could grow sheep and cattle very cheaply with much better genetics, again, if the government would just get out of the way and let us farm unhindered and do it really well. Let us grow pastures like a garden, make it beautify the landscape, and there's a lot of upside.
Unfortunately, that trend is going the other way. Governments want to be more involved in, like banning the live sheep export. It hasn't completely banned yet, has it?
Coming up, yeah. Coming up.
And they're putting out a few crumbs of a few $1 million to, which mostly will get gobbled up in bureaucratic stuff anyway, probably. It's not going to do anything. It's, compared to what the industry's potential is, it's crazy.
It is
happening.
It is.
And also getting rid of different molecules, paraquat, chlorpyrifos, changing the label. Lots of rules like that are making it harder and harder. And, it's based on the tail wagging the dog. I think the Europeans have sneeze, and so we have to sort of follow their line because we're selling stuff into there. So it's a bit of big picture thing, attack on agriculture, I think.
It is. As we know, that was WEF and World Health Organization, and anyone who says we're overpopulated is in that category.
Yeah.
Because we're clearly not overpopulated. We could do so much better. Mm. But I'm optimistic that will change. We're seeing Trump very much in favour of agriculture, supporting the farmers and getting hindrances out of the way and getting trade barriers out of the way. And I'm confident that'll come to Australia and other countries too. And then Yeah, you can imagine our high rainfall areas, we're all producing, say, 30 lambs a hectare or 3 calves a hectare. That should become standard practice, and the good farmers will be doing double that, 50, 60 lambs a hectare.
Yep.
So it sounds crazy pie in the sky now when they're struggling at 8 or 5 a hectare. But that, to me, that's just like what cropping was. You could, if you grow 1 tonne and it doesn't rain for a month and it dies, well,
something's wrong.
Clearly rainfall's the problem, Wayne. No. And it's like, well, clearly if it stops raining and my pastures die, clearly lack of rainfall, and then you dig the soil.
It's wet.
It's wet. The trees are sucking on something, and there's moisture there. And again, it's just nutrition often.
So you were stress tested with the price crashed, and then of course you had the other perfect storm to join that, which was the lack of rainfall, which is very unusual for down there. I think it stopped raining in September and didn't rain till June or something.
November was very hot.
Down near Albany.
Yeah.
Very unusual.
Very unusual.
And then you had no rain until May or later.
Well,
you'd had to make a decision by then to move on.
We didn't make it past March. So, sold the farm and moved out on June 24. But everyone's in the same boat. So it was a poor hay year. You couldn't buy hay. You couldn't get in to sell sheep, and then suddenly the price was $0 or $1, and you still knew that the prices overseas were huge. We're talking $300 to $900+ a carcass. Yeah, and it's really annoying to know that and how little we're getting paid here. So I would like to change that one day.
So it's almost like there's, like they say, a duopoly in Coles and Woolworths, but there's a few others in there now. But whether that's the same with the slaughtering industry, I know the Esperance has shut up shop, but a lot of farmers have just gone to cropping and got rid of their sheep anyway. Yep. And that probably led to the Esperance abattoir closing, I imagine, demand. Yeah. But in the southwest there was, there's still quite a few livestock. And how many abattoirs are there in WA?
Oh, I don't know, but a lot less than there used to be. Leftover stuff. You got to remember
World Economic Forum.
Sorry,
World Economic Forum.
World Economic Forum. Yeah. So nearly every one of our state premiers a while back were WEF trained. They had done WEF courses, and their aim is to reduce farming. I mean, it's not hidden. It's on their website. You can go and have a look and say there's too many people. We've got to reduce meat. We've got to reduce people and farmers.
So I think Gates has gone away from his plastic meat too now, hasn't he?
Yeah. Only people weren't buying it. Funny that, Bill.
We did eat insects when we were in Africa. I didn't enjoy it that much, but
give me a good steak.
Well, anything wrong with a good steak? I think that Jordan Peterson's family would say steaks and meat is very healthy for you.
Carnivore diet's helping a lot of people at the moment.
It is, yeah.
It is, yeah. So I'm very optimistic. The future is going to be incredibly good for farming. I know it's tough at the moment and people can't quite see it, but I'm very optimistic. We are entering a golden era, somebody famous now says. I think things are going to be really good. And there's so much upside. If you just got out of the way and there's no government interference and making it hard and corruption and, every abattoir dropping prices at once rings alarm bells for me.
And yet they didn't drop in the, when you went to the shop to buy your meat, prices stayed up, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
How's that possible?
Can't work it out.
I had one agent boasting that they'd come to WA and buy $1 a head sheep and sell it for $300 as a carcass.
Yeah. The South Australian guys were complaining that we were dropping our prices. They then had to drop their prices.
Anyway, there's so much upside.
So what you did, with Caluka Farms, you actually, you stress tested it. And you had a perfect storm at the end, which was tough, but the story is still there that you've managed to do quite spectacular things, and that was catalogued in the Caluka Farms blog. Is that still on the web?
It's blocked. It's not blocked. If you search for the links, you'll find it. But it's just I've changed the front page just to say Caluka doesn't exist.
Right. So if people want to, are you going to write a little book on that story? Do you think?
I don't know. I'm telling you about it now.
You are? Yeah. Well,
the shareholders know that we all lost. We lost our house and Renee lost her superannuation. Yeah, it's been very painful for all of us. And I certainly hit the wall. I wasn't suicidal or depressed, but I knew my brain wasn't working. Normally my brain thinks of 5 things at once, and I knew I couldn't and I had to stop anyway at a time of convalescence.
Yeah, I remember during that time I was getting a lot of phone calls because people know that you and I are close, and they're saying, how's Wayne going? You know, it's I still get it now, actually. So I'm pleased to report that Wayne's doing all right. Been through a few valleys, and
Yeah.
But in that whole story was quite fantastic. You know, just demonstrating what's possible. You know, I think that's a good thing, and it's a good thing for the whole world. And you know, Matt Hagney's experience in Kansas with his trace element stuff. You know, that story that you brought with him. You know, that's tremendous. Yeah,
It's a bit like you and I when we did that sharecropping thing back in '89, and everyone's looking because, you know, we put our money where our mouth was. And, you know, same with Caluka. Well, I put my house on it, and they put a super on it, and we had a lot of visitors. I don't know how many thousand of people came, but we had a lot of visitors always coming to have a look, and they'd stand in the paddock and fold their arms and go, "It's impossible," you know. It's like, because everyone else's pastures are
pathetic.
in June, July, and we're struggling. We're going really well, and if anyone who came and saw it could see that there's a lot of pasture waiting to grow. Okay, we had a lot of sheep on a small farm. Yeah, we got to 6,000 sheep at the end.
On 185
hectares. We're trying to get 9,000 lambs a year off 185 hectares.
And I visited you several times, and I saw that. I witnessed it. I saw you had a very clever trick by getting herbicide-resistant ryegrass so that you could spray.
Well, I'm an agronomist, of course you could.
So you collected this hoegrass or clethodim-resistant ryegrass.
That's right, yep.
And then you're able to spray
Spread it everywhere.
and spray those herbicides and kill brome grass and barley grass, not upset the kikuyu too much,
not at all.
and not the clover. No. So it was like a really nice ryegrass, clover, kikuyu combination. Yeah?
I would rather have had Roundup resistant, but that one was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you'd find plenty of Roundup resistant now because it's just increasing every year. It's getting more and more.
But people won't bulk it up. They're too scared.
Yeah.
If I ever get a chance to go cropping, I'm going to grow Roundup resistant ryegrass. And this paddock will be...
And it won't be genetically modified, but it will be. It'll be naturally...
Not by me.
Naturally done by selection pressure, which is what basically GM technology is. It's
You can imagine you got a problem with double Gs or thistles or something in a paddock. Well, go and plant Roundup resistant ryegrass and, you know, you can wipe it out, you know.
Yeah, it's
kill everything else for a couple of years. You still got ryegrass, which is good pasture. And anyway, there's lots of things you can do on pasture.
We sell turf control too for people in the city that want to kill their, broadleafs out of their grasses. So
But I would show, when you're driving around, and have a look how many bad pastures there are. They're really bad. And
well, when I drive to Kalgoorlie, I don't see too many pastures. There's so much crop, isn't there?
Where it rains. Yeah, there's a lot of crop. But if you go the high rainfall from, say, Augusta, WA, right across to Sydney, there's a lot of really poor pastures. And so as we've had the cropping boom, I think the pasture livestock boom will happen. WEF have done things to our government to stop that, but I'm very confident that's about to change. Governments will get out of the way, and farming will be huge, very profitable.
Right. So the real bottlenecks for you with your pasture was acidic soil. So how acidic was that?
The worst I've ever seen. So we had the areas down to 3.1 at depth.
In calcium chloride?
So really, really acidic.
Yeah.
Ryegrass would
to what depth?
That was down at 40 centimetres.
Right, and it was the same at the surface?
No, the surface was 3.4 in the worst. Most of their whole farm was below 4 at depth, and nothing was over 4.5. So everything was 4.1s, 4.2s.
So is it a common thing down in New Melbourne?
Yeah, it is.
Most farmers they're just not seeing the damage that it's doing to their roots. They don't know their production is being limited.
No, because they see the rain stop and the pastures die.
Yeah.
But it's because the roots haven't gone down deep because they can't. It's acid. So, but visually you're seeing it stopped raining and my pasture died. Well, obviously it's moisture.
Then they have a soak come out here. And where did that water come from?
And what are those trees sucking on,
Yeah.
The whole area in West Australia down there needs a lot of lime, and people put 1 or 2 tonne on, like that's the Mickey Mouse, usually bad quality.
So would you say put 5 tonne on straight away?
Yep.
And then
12
a year
months
later, another 5.
Another 5. Yeah.
And another 2 years later, another 5.
Well, in that worst paddock we had, Bill, I'd done 38 tonne.
And could you see lime on the surface that was undissolved?
Nope.
So the water was moving it physically?
Mm-hmm. And earthworms came in.
And what?
Earthworms came in. Earthworms were moving it all. But on the rest of the farm...
38 tonnes.
Yeah, so that was just one bad...
Yeah, I saw that one bad, little patch, yeah. So how did the pH of that raise evenly all the way to depth to 5?
Not evenly, no, but it was over 5.5 when we left.
In calcium chloride?
Calcium chloride.
6.5 in water.
And down at 30, it was high 4s.
Right.
In calcium chloride. So, but the rest of the farm, everything was over 6 in the top 10 centimetres. And at depth, everything else was mid 5s, 5.5. So everything was good. Yeah,
good clover growth makes the soil acidic because of nitrates.
Yeah, well, farming does.
Yeah.
Take things off, it becomes more acidic, yeah.
As the Steve Carr podcast, for those that want to dig deeper, I think that's number 6 in this series. Steve talks at great detail about acidity and lime and all of that and causes of it.
Yeah, but obviously South Australia and parts of Victoria don't need lime like we do.
Yes, because we're sandy soils right from the get-go.
Yeah, part of New South Wales does. They've got some acidic, high aluminium areas.
Ilston area, I've been there. It's acidic.
So even those low rainfall areas could be doing 10 ewes a hectare, which is just unheard of for a lot of people. But if you grew pastures like a crop and fixed all the constraints like you would for a crop, livestock can be very, very profitable.
And you sort of went away from wool sheep.
Yes.
Went to Australia white, I believe. Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Aussie whites.
And you found them to produce a lot more.
Sorry, ultra whites. sorry, Dawson. Ultra whites.
Okay. And they produced a lot of meat. I remember you showing me that versus a merino, and a merino with a lot of wool on it looked about the same, but you pick them up and one's twice the weight of the other.
Yeah, well, our average was 83 kilos, the last weighing of our ewes, 83 kilo average. So they're big girls.
Yeah.
And too big probably.
Yeah.
I would really like to have Katahdin sheep, but as an agronomist, I'm always seeing clients whinging about the wet sheep and the mongrels and the lice, and you're always having to dag them. And it's like, well, there are genetics that don't have wool, and the wool demand is constantly decreasing. It's replacing with synthetics and stuff. So you do the sums of no shearing and resistant to everything. It's like, these are like little cows. Yeah, it's possible. As I mentioned before, we're not allowed to bring in resistant genes yet. That needs to change. But we could grow sheep with just no wool, and they just produce twins lambs. And as I showed on the farm, we were lambing twice in 12 months. We can have a ewe that's producing 4 or 6 lambs a year. Very profitable. And she can do that. And Katahdin sheep, I don't know, they're the ones I would really love to see in Australia. I reckon they would be the same transformation of Australian farming as merino was when they came here. Australia lived off the sheep's wool back because there was a big demand for wool, and we could grow it in the dry.
Pound a pound in the 50s.
Amazing. But I think Katahdin sheep are that type of sheep. So those who don't know Katahdin, so it's normal to have twins or triplets. It is abnormal to have a single lamb. They are resistant to worms at the good end of the genetics, like never under huge pressure, don't need drenching. And there's farmers there that don't vaccinate. They're immune to everything that's a problem. So they just go and eat the grass and make babies. It's very simple for farming. They don't go under and jump fences readily. It's a wonderful genetics, a bit like Kip Farrow, what he's done with cattle. It's been brilliant.
So what country are they from?
America.
Oh.
So up in Maine and Mount Katahdin, top right-hand corner of America.
Yep.
This guy was a lazy American, as he called himself. He didn't want to shear, and he didn't want to treat flies or worms, so he found out St. Croix sheep are immune to worms, right? I'll have some of them, and I'll cross all these sort of ones, and had some Dorpers, got rid of that.
The best ones win.
Yeah, well, it took a while.
Yeah.
It took a while, but the aim is to spend nothing, and they are fantastic sheep. I love them. Some breeders, I've shown the photo, the legs are too skinny. It's like, that is still a 90 kilo lamb. It's like in 12 months it's gone to 90 kilos. And I have seen over and over a Katahdin ewe of about 70 kilos, not huge, produce triplets
And in 100 days, they are 40 kilos each. 120 kilos in 100 days is phenomenal. So there is huge upside in genetics, let alone pastures and stuff. So I do think Katahdin will change Australian livestock dramatically if the government got out of the way. And if you're listening, it's silly to block resistant genes.
Doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make sense.
Unless you've got another motive.
What, like spend money on a chemical?
Yeah, or partner up with someone that's got nefarious objectives. Who knows?
Yep.
I don't know.
Yep.
Get in the head of a politician. I guess you have to follow the money somehow. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. You're right. Why would you do that?
Conspiracy theory, Bill.
Yeah, well, people do conspire. You and I know it.
Aren't they running out of conspiracy theories at the moment?
We were trying to charge forward with agriculture, and everyone was putting up a conspiracy theory. Yeah. Well, it's what a fascinating journey you've had with the sheep, and I guess that journey hasn't finished for you. By the sounds of it, you still want to keep niggling away. But what do you think the future holds for you? What are you planning on doing now?
It's taken me a good year just to convalesce, sit back and
recover from the challenges of...
I was burnt, and it's a lot of pride I've lost, and I know that I've heard a lot of investors that had faith in me, but like them, I lost my house and all that, and just renting. But I would like to get back into farming. I just think the future's so good, but not as consulting. I would like to get more into sitting on a board, making the big decisions. Like, I have a big problem with corporate farms that make decisions over the horizon. You don't make the money over there. It's what this paddock needs in this part of the paddock. So my philosophy is always start from the paddock. What can it produce? And what's the best use of that land, and go from there. And a board, the way corporate structures are set up, they can't do that. So the corporate farms are never the best farmers. They're big scale, but they're not the best farmers. And I would like to sit on a few boards and change that in my remaining years, and certainly would like to try and find a better pathway for livestock marketing, sales and things that are a bit corrupt. It's only too much of the big boys at the moment. I don't know how I do that, but anyway. But I love farming, and I think the future is huge for agriculture, and what's coming, a lot of people think it's doom and gloom. It ain't. What's coming is awesome. Really good times are coming, and I'd like to be part of that. So I'm now in a better mental state, and so I'm now ready to get out and get back into the farming community and hopefully help some people.
Well, it was an honour for me to have a few chats with you when things were tough, and when I was in Africa, I rang up you a few times, I think, and had shed a few tears at just the roadblocks we were hitting. But our life is short. Here we are, we're nearly retired now, in terms of secular, 67 years of age, I'm 65, so, hopefully we can hand some really good stuff off to some young people. Of course, it's the purpose of this podcast. Hopefully people are getting some gems out of it, and, people saying true things is really valuable. People making stuff up and making hits and likes just for the sake of it is shallow.
Yep.
So, I know that you were very sincere, and Renee, Monique and I have valued your friendship for a long time. And
us too.
Who knows where the future goes, Wayne? I'm glad that you're excited about it. As I get older and get a little bit of skin cancer cut out, and my knee's not quite as good as it was. Medbeds is a nice idea, but I guess we'll just wait and see that really does come out. But, fixing, certainly medicine, there's no doubt knowledge is continuing to expand. But, So, and I agree with you about the farming. I just see the people that own the farm really can, and I'm trying to work this out in my head for Africa. I want they're making so much money with minerals in Africa, and there's a written, the Prime Minister of Democratic Republic of Congo has written an article called "Revenge of the Topsoil over the Subsoil."
Oh, okay.
Mining, agriculture.
Yeah.
But they've got the taxes are too high. The land ownership's not solid enough. They're stealing cultures there.
I know.
It's taking the maize, taking the takeaway sheep in South Africa. If they could just follow the 10 Commandments, I reckon that would be a really good start. Actually, I learned Charlie Kirk's pastor gave a little story on the 10 Commandments, and I reckon it's really helpful. Using your hands, you can learn it in 1 minute.
Okay.
So I'm going to show you how to do it, Wayne. So there's only one God.
Yep.
First finger. Second one is bend it down, so don't worship any other gods.
Okay.
Third one is don't take his name in vain. No more of this Jesus Christ stuff, guys. That's pretty cheap. Just doesn't do you any good. Number 4 is have a rest 1 day a week on the Sabbath. Number 5 is honour your parents. Number 6 is don't kill. Number 7 is there's 2 in a marriage, not 5. Number 8, don't steal or we'll chop your thumbs off. Number 9 is there's 5, not 4. 4, not 5, don't lie. And number 10 is don't covet what other people have.
Excellent.
And if Africa could adopt that,
that'd change.
Bang, straight away.
Everyone would win.
Yeah. And whole communities would come up together.
Yep.
This jealousy about someone that's better than you, in a running race, someone's always faster than you.
Yep.
Don't try and chop their legs off.
Yeah.
Cheer them on. Be their friend. Say, let's be a friend. Encourage them. If someone's successful in something, don't try and pull them down.
It's like you, Bill, in no-till. Anyone who got upset with Bill taking all the limelight and stuff, it's like, well, you were the man for the position. The rest of us were lucky to be in a cheer squad. Go, Bill. We didn't want your job. You got to cheer. You don't want to be the number one. You want to, it's a teamwork. And
there's a great joy in that, isn't there? We're all gifted at different things, and why not work together with our own gifting?
Well, I mean, I think we were blessed that what you did in no-till for Australia and the world, and then I was fortunate enough to be a cheer squad, do some of the background stuff and help and cheer and correct, some of the buts and stuff that people were saying, that won't work and stuff, and showing and having to do sideline trials. It was a great time. I'm blessed. It was a awesome time to improve Australian agriculture and be part of it. So, I think the world owes you a lot.
Oh, thank you, Wayne, and likewise for the work you've done with sheep and what you did with learning plant language. That's been fantastic, and hopefully people will be able to find those resources too. So, but when I was in Africa, I put NPK out, and we still had a deficiency, and I thought, I wish Wayne was here. But I was able to talk to you. Yeah, well, good journey, Wayne. Thank you so much for sharing your Caluka pain and what you learnt from that, and thank you for sharing basically your disappointment and with in people that invested into that too, that it certainly was a perfect storm, and I was a witness to that perfect storm, and it's through these storms though that we learn a lot more. So thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.
Well done, and all the best for the next pathway that you might take.
See you in 30 more years.
Well,
do another one.
Well, our parents have lived long, so hopefully we will. Thanks, Wayne.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode, brought to you by 4 Farmers.